Hi everyone. So this is continuing with the affordable rental kind of housing projects that we're kind of seeing more recently. And so I'm going to continue kind of where I left off. This is again talking about this mayor rights uh, proposal that just to be clear, because it's a state project and it's going through 201H. So this is one that is would not be voted on by the city council for approval. This would be one that is going to go straight to the DPP director. And what you're seeing here is like a hearing that the city council had just a couple days ago on the 18th. This is a video from that. Um, so yeah, what I want to talk about in this is like two more things. I see kind of a possible mobility trap is one thing, and then the other concern I have is the lack of a safety net for a lot of these rental projects, the way that they're sort of set up. Let me kind of jump back to the yeah. Okay, jump back to this whole banding thing. So um, maybe is it better to see it in incomes? Okay, so the concern I had about having affordable housing defined this way with the income caps and all that. Um, there's a few kind of nuances to the way that these caps work. Okay, so the first is that um, it's a qualifying cap only, and I think it's potentially up to a year, 1 year of verification or checking. Um, and the point here is that when you enter, as a new renter, that you need to meet the income requirement. And after you've established yourself as a renter, then there's no more renewal. So this can be good or bad, but there's no renewal. So you qualify at income, and then you can stay in the rental as long as I guess the rental is offered. I guess to you. So um, kind of the first thing maybe I want to talk about is maybe uh, like an outsider, So okay, so one of the ideas in this, the emergency proclamation, it's this idea of upward mobility, right? So if housing were more affordable to you, like as an actual family, right? You to a person, housing were more affordable, then you wouldn't have to, stretch and put 30% or more of your income, gross income to housing. You could put, less. You could spend less on housing, and that would allow you a buffer, right? I mean, things in Hawaii are already expensive, so by being able to spend less than, let's say, 30% on housing, you could take that differential and save it, and you could build a down payment, or what pay down debt, whatever, right? So the idea of upward mobility is that you're able to spend less on housing than, let's say, less than 40%, which is what they're thinking the average person. But ideally, you'd be able to spend maybe even less than 30. They'll allow you to save more money. So straight off the bat, I mean, a problem with uh, these income caps is that to qualify, so the richest person, highest income person that can qualify will have to pay 30%, right? That's the rental cap, 30% of the max. So I mean, to qualify, you have to be less than the max or maybe equal, right? So uh, even to enter your current income, you're paying at like around 30% or possibly slightly more, right? Because your income has to be less than or equal to the max. And the rent cap is 30% of the max. So um, all things equal, right? Like when you enter, you're still contributing 30% of your gross income to housing. You may not have this large buffer. And, and I mean, to me in general, like this idea of being able to spend 30% of your gross income in housing and then be able to be all good, um, that breaks down as your gross income reduces, right? Because if you spend 30% on housing, let's say all these people, right? We got this system. Everybody has access to these programs. Okay, so um, somebody that's up here, they spend 30K a year on housing, and they have 70K to buy their car or whatever, like buy food. Okay, so you go to 60% AMI, well, you know they spend whatever 20K on housing, right? Whatever, and then but they only got 40K to buy. Like I mean, yeah, I guess they could get a cheaper car, but I mean, there's still food, right? Food, so because a lot of other costs are fixed, um, as you go down, just to if this person spends 10K on housing and we give them a decent house, that's great. They still only have 20K left, So I mean, it doesn't. This idea of being everyone can spend 30% housing, it's arguably less fair as it goes down. So okay, so let's talk about what I'm thinking of as this what I call the trap. So when you enter, whatever your current income is, you're going to enter, and you're going to find housing in one of these affordable bands, right? Let's assume that affordable housing is available for everybody in this type of scheme, right? Okay, so one of three things will happen. Okay, so either um, it's like a not no change kind of thing where again, you're paying close to 30%, right? Probably slightly more, right? Because of the qualification, the way it works. And if that just perpetuated, again, you wouldn't have maybe enough additional money to save, and that's more pronounced as we go down. Okay, so that's kind of a no change thing. Um, there are people that will benefit if your income growth, your personal like household income growth exceeds the AMI growth by a margin, considerable margin, then what will happen is your income for your family is going to go up. There's you never kicked out, so you can stay in there, right? And so then your rent as a percentage of your income is going to be going down. So yes, I mean I think for like young professionals, for example, that have a lot of they're going to get raises or whatever, or move up in their careers or whatever, then that creates a good separation. And so somebody that qualifies maybe here at 60% or here 100%, their income's going to move up here, right? Household income, but they're not kicked out. So yeah, I mean this is a good, and I think that's a great service. For helping as a launch pad, for some of, especially young professionals. I think it's a very very positive thing, and so um, that would help them, right, get that additional cushion, allow them to potentially save more, and ideally they'd be able to maybe buy their own place or have a down payment or whatever in the future. Um, I guess on the extreme end of that though, like nothing is keeping. There's no other gates, so they could stay in this affordable rental like forever. And maybe, I guess if there was an infinite supply, then this argument wouldn't matter. But if the supply was finite, then um, you know they're still allowed to stay. So it's not opening it up again to other people that may be in need. If the supply wasn't infinite. So that's one. So okay, it's either the no change where you're kind of all are in that trap where you may not have enough additional savings and you're just in this affordable scheme forever. There's people that their household income is gonna outpace EMI growth, and that's good for them. They'll create the cushion and it gives them they get mobility. That's great. Kind of on the other end of the spectrum though, right? If your household income, personal household income, lags AMI growth, AMI historically, I mean, we're actually in a kind of a spike right now, but historically it's been like maybe 4%, and historically inflation's been 2.5 to 3%. So historically, long-term AMI outpaces inflation. Um, and again, it depends like where you are. I think in your career, right? Like if you're earlier in your career, your income growth is probably outpacing EMI, right? Because you're changing jobs and getting more responsibility and stuff. I think as you hit like that kind of journeyman level, you're gonna be your personal AMI growth may be closer to. I mean, sorry, your personal income growth may be closer to closer to inflation. You might be the barely keeping up percent that we mentioned. Um, but if your income lags, this would be like the group that comes to mind might be people retired. If you're using Social Security as a major source of income, and Social Security gets its index off of inflation, right? So it's if EMI if inflation lags, right, EMI is going to outpace inflation. That would create a gap. Or anybody whose personal income doesn't keep up with AMI growth, now the rents are going to be going up, right, relative to their income, and they'll be spending more and more as of a percentage of their income on this rent. And again, they're not kicked out. They're never really kicked out, right? Because there's no more, whatever. You still qualify, right? You're making less, but at some point, you'll be spending like 50, 60% of your own gross income, and that's gonna create this, it's not sustainable, right? At some point, if you can't make the rent in these projects, affordable housing projects, the way that they're proposed now, um, I mean, unless you had some other subsidy that's kind of outside the scope of just these projects as defined. These projects only have rents capped based on prevailing AMI. So if you enter these programs and in 15 years, your income hasn't kept up with AMI growth. Um, I mean, you could just be in a different sector, right? You could be working in a different sector that just didn't see the growth, in the county. Um, and that would hurt you, right, long term, because AMI is going to go up relative to your income, and uh, therefore rents probably will go up, or the cap, will, and you could be kind of priced out. Okay, so in summary here, I think there's more affordable rental. I think proposals coming down, and that's in general, I think, a good thing. But again, I think it does matter, like where uh, in that 30 to 100% EMI these units are being focused. I think that's kind of important, and um, the fear is that they're being skewed away from the greatest need. Um, on the screen again, I'm back to the current proclamation for emergency proclamation. Um, one other, I don't know if it's a nuance, but um, so they have this Build Beyond Barriers working group, and the idea, right, the multidisciplinary group, a lot of people, you can a lot of different voices, and if the projects, this group can streamline these projects because they have their inputs, very a panel of experts inputs. Okay, so that was maybe the overarching idea, right? So we're going to expedite, and then we're going to create this working group that has this experts that have oversight. Okay, well, in these more recent iterations, the state affordable housing projects, they just proceed with under the proclamation. Um, they the state housing projects are not seen by this working group. So um, they're they're just allowed to proceed. So you know they can. The point here is the public. We don't we won't see them at the working group meetings. They they proceed. Um, and based on that other exemption for 201H38, City Council won't see the exemption list, right? You know, they'll just go straight to DPP. So there is this. I'm not even sure what the public's voice even is anymore for state affordable housing projects, but clearly the visibility, has been reduced.